Hi and welcome to the channel. I'm the Grumpy Old Hermit. Today I'd like to talk about why we need to keep Christianity out of the public schools. So lately there have been more than just a few news reports of politicians requiring schools to adopt Christian principles. For example, posting the Ten Commandments, teaching the Bible as science and history instead of as literature, banning books from schools because they paint a world outside of the Christian world, and probably the most harmful of all is a reliance on abstinence-only sex education. All these things lead to a world in which our kids are no longer educated, but indoctrinated into a worldview that is twisted and false. Let's begin with schools that want us to host the Ten Commandments. This is by far the most obvious one that should be done away with. It's just ridiculous. First off, the first 4 commandments have nothing to do with right and wrong. The first 4 are just vanity commands that have zero to do with anything moral. The 5th one is dubious at best. I mean, your mother and your father might be truly awful people who harm you and others, so why would you give them any honor at all? And the last 5, don't steal, kill, covet, commit adultery, don't lie. Well, all 5 of those could be summed up by saying this: don't fuck with your neighbor or his shit. And we don't need the 10 Commandments to tell us anything about that. That's just pure human nature. And why the 10 Commandments? Why not post the 5 Buddhist precepts? They're really simple and they'd make a ton of sense. Number 1, do not harm or kill living things. Number 2, do not take things unless freely given. Number 3, lead an ethical life. Number 4, do not speak unkindly or tell lies. Number 5, avoid intoxication. It really seems to me that these 5 would work just as well. The point is, we don't need any Christian dogma to teach our kids about morality. Next up is teaching Bible in the classrooms. There's at least one state that's requiring all schools to teach from the Bible. So what are they going to teach from the Bible? Well, let's start with science from the Bible. First off, there is none. Creation science is not a thing. It's been disproven over and over again. The proponents even took it to court to try to force it into the schools. It was soundly defeated. There is absolutely no science in the Bible. As for teaching history from the Bible, well, this is even worse. The most important things in the Bible never happened. There was no Adam and Eve. There was no Tower of Babel. There was no flood. There was no Exodus. And there was no resurrection. We know all these things are false and did not happen. And if they're trying to say it's history, he's using the Bible to teach how the country was founded on Christian principles. I would just like to point out that God and the Bible are not mentioned anywhere in the founding documents, not in the Constitution or in the Federalist Papers. All of our founding documents were founded on Enlightenment principles, not Christianity. So yeah, there's no history in the Bible. Now if you want to teach the Bible as literature, well, that's fine. There's some good things to learn about various writing styles, the difference between the poetic texts and the priestly ones, and to learn how languages have changed and evolved over time. It's interesting reading writings that took place by multiple authors over 1,000 years. But I don't think that's what Christians want taught. Now I'll move on to banning books in schools. First off, I can't even believe I'm talking about this. I live in America where freedom of speech and expression is supposed to be an ultimate principle. But many Christians here want to take books they find objectionable out of the school. Christians want to remove any books that have anything to do with being gay or portraying racism with whites being the villains. They do this so they can, protect the children. Let's just start by making the obvious statement that no, reading a book that is written from a gay perspective for gay people is not going to make Lil Jimmy have the gay. Lil Jimmy will likely never even see the book in the library. The same thing goes for the books on race. Hey, newsflash, racism was a big deal in the country for most of its existence, and there's still pockets of it around today. And you can find these racist pieces of shit all over the internet. And from my interactions with them, I think I can freely say that while not all Christians are racist, all races are Christians. After all, Christians are the ones that actually invented the concept of race. They used the rhetoric of religion to justify their belief that they were the superior race. Books like the ones that are banned are invaluable to our young, as they teach them how to view history in a critical light. And is it not better to see and acknowledge these topics so that we don't repeat the same mistakes? Reading is a great way to teach different perspectives. We build ourselves into better humans when we learn from the past. Our ancestors made the mistakes so we don't have to. And that's why we read, because they wrote down what mistakes they made and we said, oh, don't do that. I also find it strange that schools specifically don't ban the Bible. You would think they would be all for getting rid of that smut, but apparently, incest, child rape, murder, genocide, slavery, misogyny, well, those are all swell topics, as long as they're in the Bible. So in short, let me sum up. Stop banning books that your idiot kids are never gonna read anyway. Now we can get to the heart of the matter. In many of these states run by religious fanatics, the only type of sex education available to your child is abstinence only. This is by far the most harmful thing that Christians can do to our kids. So let's just begin by pointing out the absolutely absurdity of this policy. States like Texas and Mississippi, among others, use abstinence only as their method of teaching sex ed. And what is this groundbreaking policy given them? Why, the highest teen pregnancy rate in the country. I'm shocked. But it gets better than that. They also have the highest repeat teen pregnancies in the country. So their program seems to be working just swimmingly. Now also keep in mind these are the same states that have some of the strictest abortion laws in the country. So once a teen is pregnant, that's it. She's now going to become a mom, whether she's ready or not. And the thing is, most of these teens come from low-income families. So these kids are born into poverty from the get-go. And do these Christians reach out to help? Oh, nope. Not a chance. These states also have the lowest level of social safety nets. So these teen moms now must live the rest of their lives struggling just to make ends meet, and the cycle just keeps repeating itself. These outdated, puritanical views must stop. There is no truth in them. They're all based on some ancient writings by a society that was wholly patriarchal and that where women were considered to be the man's property. Those days are gone. They're not coming back, and nobody wants them back. We've learned a lot more in the last 3,000 years than we knew then. We have study after study that shows that comprehensive sexual education is an excellent way to cut down on teen pregnancy and abortion. When you teach kids that sex is not only a natural instinct in life, after all creatures do have it, then you have the ability to teach them the best practices to keep them safe and to keep them from getting pregnant or an STD. It can also teach them how to form healthy relationships, how to deal with peer pressure, and many other things that will help kids throughout their entire life. And let's just take a minute right now and think back to when you were in school. Did you have sex before you were married? What about before you were 18? Because I remember those days, and there was a lot of sex going on. And yes, even among Christian teens. So Christians are fighting a losing battle. Teens will always have sex. They always have had sex. Why not give them the tools to manage it wisely? And that's why I think Christianity needs to stay out of the public schools. Look, I don't really give a shit what you believe. You can believe you have lunch with Bigfoot every Wednesday. I think that's great. But when you start telling me that Bigfoot says I can't eat bacon, well, now we're gonna have an issue. Believe all the crazy shit you want, but keep it to yourself, because the rest of us could not possibly care less about what you claim to believe. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.